Hi, I'm Connie Nieto. This is a recording for Remax Presidential. Thank you for having me. And I'm going to record this and send it to Arusa, hopefully Friday. Okay. When you're doing prospecting, you need to consider the area that you're prospecting in. And one of the things that happens here in South Florida is we are affected by the school calendar. And it even affects, like, our snowbirds come in October, some, but the holidays brings the snowbird in, right? And they don't leave until March. So we have a little heavier traffic during Thanksgiving and the beginning of December because everybody's coming in, getting down, doing stuff. The snowbirds are the people that live 3 or 4 months, 6 months of the year here and live somewhere else the rest of the year. So we have that additional traffic for their holiday. And then you also have the phenomenon that the person yourself, everybody carries a load right between that week of Thanksgiving and the end of the year. There is so much to do. Coordinate your event with the office, your spouse's event for the office, the things for the kids, families doing this. I had a get together on the 21st with all of, my cousins and friends. And then that then the 24th was smaller because everybody has their own family, and then everybody has family different age. So all of December is there's a party here, there's an event here, and I felt this year in particular that instead of telling you at the beginning of the month, they were telling you, oh, the party's gonna be here, and it's already the 4th, and they're telling you it's on the 6th, 7th, and 8th. And then schools, if you in an area like this, it's very residential. Do you work in this area? Do you work in this area? Trabajan Yeah. If you work in this area, it's very residential. So there's events, and on top of that, you have community events.
Yes.
You do not just have school events. You have community events, and then you have all the events to any other group or any other thing that you belong to. Church, synagogue, whatever it is that you belong, also has events that you have to go to and attend to. So to me, when you're prospecting, there's a motion at beginning of December, so for next year, where people are considering moving because kids not liking or not doing well in their school. So there's a beginning of December prospect ability where if you've been at them in front of them in the end of November, like with your little Thanksgiving greeting, and then at the beginning, there's a little prospecting there. Now, there are people that are closing until the end of the year for tax purposes. You have to be aware of that. And that's also a good place to be alert because most realtors are turned off.
Oh, absolutely.
So if you're still in tune, it's an opportunity. Now, this first coming of the year, right? People, the first couple of weeks innately, you're trying to get back to, I don't want to eat 3,000 calories a day,
Yes, that's where we are.
right? So that's why a lot of people will tell you, geez, I missed a salad with oil and vinegar. And you're like, what? And like, yeah, because I haven't had anything like that, right? In the last month and a half. So it's a good time to start, and people start. So how people start going to the gym or they start their walk. It's a good time for you to start reaching to people and saying, I'm here.
Yeah.
And it's not invasive. So part of what we're gonna do in IMAP is show you a little bit of how to search and get info, how to prospect. I'm gonna refresh how you get detail from a subdivision, right? And then what I wanna make sure that you start thinking is, if you're trying to grow your business, you said something, I'm into my whatever year. I know the number, but I don't wanna say it. She said, I'm into my this year in the business. I wanna do this. You were starting to say, is you start to feel what your community schedule is. And you use that to your advantage. So Fat Tuesday is coming. Whether you're a believer or not, Fat Tuesday affects you because marketing will lead you to believe that you need to eat a lot on Fat Tuesday. And because the next day starts Lent, whether you're a Lenten believer or not. So you know that from here to that date, right? That you couldn't connect. Then in that period of Lent, and there's also a Hebrew holiday that comes right into that Easter celebration. I can never remember the name. There's some quiet. People have settled, right? That's a great time to talk to people about their equity. That's a great time to talk to people about what they could do with their equity because we're still not at a moment. You've been in the industry. You know that last year was a little slower.
Yeah.
And that was because everybody was waiting. And though politics plays a game in what we do, it started in July versus late August and September, and we felt it. All of us in the industry felt it. There was a slowdown, and a combination of rates, political unknowing, and then coming up to an election, a presidential election that does affect the business. That has nothing to do with what side you're on, does affect. Last year we just felt it earlier. So as you come to that time, well,
Why is so emotionally draining? Like 2024 was like one of those.
well, everything dragged. We just said that the holidays were condensed and on like not on the right day or
Yeah,
right?
so off.
Very off. So considering that this year is like I told you, most holidays land on a Friday.
Yeah.
Which is a relief. I posted it. I just don't remember where my post is, or I would tell you. I'll look at it before I leave so I can share you the dates. I just know that July 4th is on a Friday, which is nice. So you can plan the year according to what you know happens in your area. Plan, market. The days today are cool. Cold days like this, open up your windows. Take advantage of them. And then use them to renew your air on your business. In IMAP, you can do this by logging in, right? And I'm gonna close up here. And IMAP is the iconic, probably most used tax search system. Tax search meaning that it is a where you go search IMAP. It's right here, IMAP. And one of the things that I like to teach here, and I've done it before, is if you have one address in an area that you want to farm, that is the key to using IMAP. You need an address because it's a tax service. So you can come in and search a property address and do something. Remember to select the county. If your IMAP does not look like mine, there is a dark blue item here that says to use the beta version. I don't have it. If yours doesn't look like mine, you'll have a link here that says, would you like to use the beta version? Click in it, and then you'll have it look like mine because the map is a little different now. Now you can come into here and you can do 392 Carrington. I'm using it as an example, unless you guys have one that you would like to share with me. Okay, let me see yours. I know that I've made you guys switch. Yes, you have to click to do the beta version. ¿Ves que abajo de arriba donde dice IMAP hay unas letras que salen en azul? Oprima ese. Ajá, oprima.
Use beta version.
Yes. Sí, y es important. They keep on saying that that's the beta version. There are a couple of other groups that have already switched, and this is the only version. That means that it's going to be the only version. So you come over, y ya. First of all, to explain to you, yeah, and we continue to go back. I do it. This, by the way, is bigger, more legible, less odd, right? So first you would put here, we're on a tax search. We put the county, right? And we put an address, okay? And we're gonna start the search. Yeah, dele un segundito. Y yo voy a grabar. Así que usted le deja saber a Rusa que vino y ella te manda el vínculo a la grabación. Para que no te sientas que no estás captando todo. No, pero te digo, te digo que si te sientes así, porque the Wi-Fi has been very iffy lately. If you feel like that, relax because I'm recording. Estoy grabando and I'm gonna send it to Arusa. So puedes ir y ver el paso a paso. Okay? Don't worry about that. I'm gonna start the search and I want to remind you what you see. You can change your outlook on the map right? You can see other activity from MLS here. You can see there's actives and some solds, right? You can look at it different. You can see it in an aerial, in a street, in a flood zone view, right? I tend to like the street view when I'm searching, just to peek. You see property ID, okay? And this, so you know, has a link directly to the property appraiser's office for the property. And the reason I tell you that is that you sometimes want to come and see the market value versus building improvement value versus tax sum. You want to look at some of this portability, if they've done any portability. Okay. Sales history for the property. It was sold at 450 on December 10th, 2020. And it sold at 735. This is one of the properties that I started to follow because I saw it one day, and that 735 was way off in price. It sat on the market for a long period, but it sold. It was listed at 780 something. But it sold at 735, and it sold in less than 3 years for a huge amount. And this is right through pandemic. 2020 was the beginning of pandemic, March 2020. And they purchased in December that year, right before, and it continued. And in March of 23, right, it sold for almost double the price. So, and one of the reasons that I continue to follow it, right, is that there's pictures for it. And it is a water facing 3-bed, I think 2-bath, 3-bed, 3-bath, property, right? And it's not on the higher end of construction in the area, right? Nor is it luxury, but look at how much potential. Talk about being in the right place at the right time. I also do it because the initial purchase that you see here, let me see if you have it, was for 180,000. And 94, when Weston was first being routed, right? It was, and then it sold for 330, and there was some interchanges. So you see the entire background of the property. I share these whenever I find a property like that with you, so that you have a way of demonstrating in your area the potential and why people should purchase property. This is a great example of why you should buy into property. Because even the person that initially bought at 180, when they sold at 330, that was almost 60-70%. And then the 330 that sold at 450, that was not a bad exchange, correct? And then the 450 to 735 was the boom that we had due to a pandemic. But this is a great property for you to feature. Find one in your area, fall in love with your area, and find one like this so that you can tell people, look what growth you could have by owning a property. This explains why no matter what the interest rate, you need to buy, because this is what could occur. There's no reason to rent, okay? Plus, you all know that rentals right now are more difficult to get into than a purchase. They ask you for 700 in credit, not a South Florida reality. They ask you, I always say it, we're an area of immigrants or descendants of immigrants, and we're worker bees, and people here are always helping someone else. People don't think that about us, but it is a very big reality. You put one hand here, you patch over here, yes or no? And we're salmon. I always say we're salmon going upriver. And someone said, oh my God, but poor salmon. And I go, the salmon makes it. They're determined. They don't feel sorry for me. I'm swimming. If I'm coming down to the bottom, then coming like, and that's part of what being South Floridian is about.
Yeah.
And that's why people want to be here, because there's drive. So this kind of property shows you that engagement in drive. So find a property in your area for you to talk about. And don't talk about the people. Talk about the property value, how it increased, how it was worth it to invest, and what a dramatic change from 94 to 2023 in price. Because the original sold price was $180,000 and it just sold for 735 2 years ago now. Okay. Homes in that area are currently being sold for 800 as is. So sure, this is a phenomenon of Weston that is very sought out after good education, etc. But find a property like this for you to showcase for people in your area. And if you work 3 or 4 communities, find one in each community that you can show how it's changed through time. Because that also makes you the owner of info. And then you'll talk with ownership. That's what I want. If you're reassured of what you know, then when you speak to someone else, you own it. And it's like, no, 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 I've seen this happen. Here's my example. Oh, do you know someone there? No, I follow the market. This is my area. I love my area so much that I know that you could potentially grow this. You gotta own it. Okay. Now here it tells you it's a 3, 2.5. It's 1,800 square feet, right? And it has stucco, pool, pavers, garage. And one of the things that I always like to share, IMAP started to open more information. And when they did, they're one of the first to now provide a building sketch when available. So you could click on a building sketch and you could get this and print this. Remember that this could be a presentation for a buyer or for a seller, that you are providing this kind of vital info either for the next person or for them to know what the property is about. So they have this building sketch, not in every property, right? But slowly adding. They have an additional button here that I like to show you, which is a valuation analysis button, which will tell you current home value, loan amount, equity. Okay, this is as well printable and you can save it, right? It tells you the history of change. This one is from 2027. Okay, and then it'll talk to you about valuation factors, property tax, etc. Other things that are here, there's also residential MLS stats. I always tell you to leverage these for you. Let me make this tiny, doesn't need to be in our way. And though this is at zip code level, you could come here and look for the last 6 months if you want to. And then you can see the count of properties, the median sold price, the days on market, the absorption rate, and the month supply. This is an inventory analysis for that zip code. This is very crisp. The graph is nice. You can again PDF this or print this. Good for the person who's buying or selling, right? And then you can also see sold listings. Okay, the number, the median price, and the days on market, right? And new versus sold, which is always good to peek at. And all of this is right here because I opened one property. One property. Again, preparing you to present, to discuss an area, right? To work with that buyer or with that seller. Okay. The next thing that they have here, let me come back, is of course the find comparable. One of the things that Arusa wanted me to make sure to tell you is IMAP is something that people do rely on and work with. It doesn't matter if you're working with an investor or you're working with a first-time home buyer or whatever, people tend to do a comparable here. So the comparison criteria that we recommend is plus or minus 20% in the lot, plus or minus 20% in the square footage. Initially, if it is the same building, you only use and located in, and you put same subdivision. If it is a building, you only put in same subdivision. You have a non-chartered, non-community driven area, and you can do half a mile to a mile. This area is not like that. Here we have communities everywhere. Broward is newer, so it was community built. If you were dealing some areas in Miramar, Southwest Ranches, right? That's not a community setup. You would switch and you could do a mile to try to get what you need. In an area, if you work in Miami-Dade, Hialeah is not community driven. Hialeah Gardens is. Kendall has communities, but Sweetwater was, which is right south of Doral. Doral is community driven. A Sweetwater was constructed way back when, right? And it was, let me buy this many acres. We'll divide here with our friends. We'll build houses, 10 of them the same, right? You know, so not community at all either. So you have to know the area. Here, I like to try to do in the same subdivision because Weston is an area subdivision driven, right? And sold in the last year, there is a report that you get from RPR that'll tell you what's happening in an area. And it's just a market trend report. And it'll give you market trends and how long houses are lasting on the market. You sort of got that from the residential MLS stats here, but the other one is easier to read. I'm gonna put here 6 months and notice how the price went up. The price range went up. And this house, according to them, was valued at 800 some. So I could ignore waterfront and pool, but this one has waterfront. So you could swap that. Now, there is a phenomenon in Broward that's slowly changing where bedrooms and bathrooms were not always noted on the property appraiser. So you would have square footage, and everything we do is based off of square feet. So we tell you to ignore bed and bathroom. You can ignore pool, ignore garage, right? And then include all properties. I like to put here matches or equivalent, and let's see. Similar. And there you go. The similar is the one that we would like to use. Because the other one is to compare apples with oranges and whatever townhouses with. You don't want to do that. You want to do similar. Best available sales always. And you update the criteria here if you'd want to. It'll keep the last criteria that you did, right? And I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna say is waterfront and see what happens. And it lowered the price. So I'm not gonna go with that. Ignore waterfront. Okay. Now that left me when I had like a whole mirror of properties, it only left me with three. Only left me with three in the area. So if I wanted to, I could come to the last year, right? And see, didn't really make it more or less, right? And then let me see here. Does it make it any more or less there? Not a big deal, and jump. Now I do want you to see that there is something that sold very inexpensively, right? And we only have three left here, right? So here you see the price and when it sold, the price and when it sold, the price and when it sold. And these are four, and notice how this one doesn't have beds and bath. I wanted you to see it. I didn't know that it was gonna come up, but you see it there, right? The beds and baths. And you can see the other ones that it took away. And you could say that this is your comparable, fine comparable. Do everything based off of square footage, not off of ratio. So this is the ratio. So this is a home, lower end or upper end. And what that's really telling you is that it depends in that area. Right, let me update the criteria one more time.
You can do it, drawing them out.
You can, not in this area here. So I'm gonna stay in the same subdivision and do 6 months and see what happens. It makes it better for me. So the reality is, but I only have two listings. You can't come and draw. Your draw comes from here, from the subdivision. So you could do a half mile, a mile, etc. Okay? And then you can, of course, save this. And this is something relatively new as well. And you can print it. Okay, so it's saved to my computer and now I have the comparable, right? And I have that it's 774, right? and you have two properties available here. So that's how you do a comparable. So there's a whole bunch available to you just from IMAP to look at a property. Remember the homework first though. Come into your area, find a property that you like to showcase and learn about it. If your community or your 3 or 4 communities that you cover or whatever, there is always no the higher end model, since here we have models, right? Homes, the higher end model carries the weight of the lower. An investor will always buy the lower grade model because it takes advantage of the higher grade. And the person buying for them will always seek the higher grade home, but they're the home liver. An investor will buy the lower end model,
To make
and
it.
the home buyer will buy the better, larger model if they can. Try to learn about model homes in your area. Remember that we have a couple of ways for you to get floor plans. So see if you could get your floor plans. All of that denotes knowledge. All of that denotes, and you don't give that for free. You give some info and then you start to showcase everything you have. Okay, so here we've done a couple of things. I'm gonna come and copy, right? The subdivision name. Okay. I'm gonna copy it. And I want to remind you that even though we already did this, I can always come to property tax back because I already saved my comparable. Let me give it a sec. And the reason I want to do that is their estimation was here. So the estimation that we got from 774 to 865 is within this range, right? And I want you to see too that you have assigned schools to the address, okay, for you to know. And you have flood zone detail. Of course, you had the sale info that we reviewed, right? The building structure and the taxes, what they've been. Okay. And notice how they've increased. 14K from 2023, 12K, 10, 9, and 9. 14,000 is more than $1,000 a month. Just letting you know. So when people tell you this is something else that you could do, you could possibly review a home like this and review a similar home like that in the community that you're in and say, it's fab to live over there, but this is the tax reality. And you can compare one and the other. Always have that under your sleeve because when someone's looking to buy $1,200 in tax, that's just tax. That's not homeowner's insurance. That's not P&I.
Can't shop.
No, 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 no. And that's also like, there's no, what about HOA? So it's a lot of things to consider. And when you have a hold on that kind of data, you could help someone make a sound choice, right? Make a sound choice. So think about that. I copied the subdivision information here, and I want you to note something new in IMAP is that it keeps a history of what you've done now. It didn't do that before. So if you're like me, that you're notorious for, I didn't save anything that I just did. It's right here. Okay. Date and time and what we've done.
Even if you don't say,
History.
so how far of a history? It will keep, okay, because.
November 20th, 3 months. Okay. But you need to know that because many of us, you're talking to someone, you finish and you go, you smack, you don't do it to the apps on your phone. I do it to the app on my phone all the time. Ha! Right? When you're in the binge of clean, I do that. Right? So just to let you know there's a history thing. You can bookmark. So if you decide that this is a property, like I tell you in your area that you want to, you could bookmark it and save it. Okay. You can bookmark a property now. And save it. Mhm. Mhm. So it's something to consider. Okay. Now I copied the subdivision. So I'm gonna come and do a new search. And we're gonna learn how to use subdivision info to create labels in case you want to prospect or to create spreadsheets in case you want to call. Right, let's see what this offers us. So I'm gonna come into here and under subdivision name, I'm gonna paste, right? And select, okay? And the first thing I'm gonna do is start the search. And it tells you there are 582 potential properties in that area. Okay. I can come and do a download of that. And I can do a full tax record download. Some of you like Excel, that's what I'm showing you. An owner address or phone numbers. So the first thing I'm going to do is phone number. This does screen for do not call. So if a phone number appears and it has next to it DNC, it's do not call. So we're going to do the phone here. Next, right? I'm going to download the file. Next. And I want, let's say, in Excel, which is a new thing. You could do the comma separated value was really in Excel, but Excel now is Excel, and you create this download. I want to remind you that I am recording this and that Arusa was like, honey, please. And I said, not before Friday because I'm not promising you what I can't deliver. Because I leave here and I have another office visit. So by the time I get home, whatever, but I am recording. Okay. So I'm going to open up this downloaded file, right? And let me switch my screen so you guys will be able to see. Okay, I'll do desktop. And then you have a couple people here. We scroll down and look at all the phone numbers that you have. There are 360 numbers. And none of them say do not call so far. No. Nice. Talk to your offices and see if they have scripts, etc. But you can consider this to doing some cold calling or calling. Okay. You like that?
The tax,
I did the whole, let me modify the criteria and show you. I did a tax search. I knew the subdivision name because I knew that one address. Right. And then you start the search. And then from here, what I did was download. I'm not going to do it again, but here's the phone. And I did next step, next step, next step, and I chose Excel. Okay.
you'll do accept, but it does show a PDF format of it, probably to print that instead of the Excel. That's what I thought I saw.
No.
No, the
You get the
DB,
comma, PDF, it's not PDF.
No.
oh, okay. Got it.
Okay. Now I'm going to work on the same one. I could do a mail label here and put owner address or occupant or owner of property. Owner of property means that the owner declares homestead exemption. So I can create labels here with any of these. Create labels, right? Oh, it didn't tell me layout. Hold on. I could have clicked through. Page layout. I wanted you to see that you can select your Avery label. So 5160 is the one that they sell everywhere, right? So you could create labels from here. Let me show you those. Okay. Now, some people go and use this, and instead of using the mailing label, they just print a sheet and they start marking off. I'm going to write to all of these people and slashing off, right? Just crossing out the ones you do. The reason, there was a study that if you guys send something handwritten, it makes it inside the house.
It makes it inside the house.
It makes it inside.
I like it.
Yeah.
The only reason I tell you that is because how many of you do the, I got the mail and I dump? I do that. You grab the, like, and something hand printed or from a company that you're working on. Because how many of you pay your bills online? So when you get the paper bill, I always opt out of the paper. I'm not gonna pay you if you send me a paper. As a matter of fact, you're a nuisance to me. So that's how I feel. So you throw a lot of the things away. Right? It doesn't even make it inside unless it's something that they want to keep. So the handwriting is a tactic to make it inside. Right? Let's come back and let's see what else we could do. We could modify our criteria and we can actually choose, right? Owner occupied. No. And who are we talking to here? Non-homestead exemption or LLCs that, and so they're renters. So you could talk to the renter and the property owner. So we went from 580 some to now I'm gonna start my search. And now I have 94 properties that are rented, which is double the possibility because I could write to where the taxes are paid and I can write to the property address. So watch, I'm gonna go ahead and ask to do mailing labels. And in this instance, I want the occupant file format, page layout, or Avery, whatever. And the customizations, I want to replace the first and last name to say current resident, future homeowner, whatever I want, right? And then I create mailing labels. These mailing labels will be to the address, property address to the renter. Now, opposite to that, I can come into content and put not occupant. Let me see. It doesn't let you pick owner property address, owner address. Owner address is the one you want. Owner address is where the tax is paid. Owner at property address is the owner that lives at the property, and occupant is the address of the renter where they live. But owner address is where the taxes are paid. So you can select. So the first 94 was at the physical address to the renter. And then the owner address should be for the 94 where they pay the taxes. So here, customization, right? And you would leave it as it was, no replacement, correct? And create labels. So you should have one. There's Venezuela, Georgia, St. Augustine. Those are the owners that pay tax somewhere else. And then this is the labels that I did with current address, right? And address. Look at the address. Their fields are a little funky there. But look. Okay. Now, these people that you're getting that, for the ones that rent, you have to have a firm letter or notice or a breakdown of 3 to 5 reasons in bullet points, not a love letter. I want to remind you that as much as I know you're fantastic, these people are not in love with you. So if you write something long and lengthy, remember, do you have time? No, they don't either. So 3 to 5 bullet points. There's a rule called 357. So you know, 357. Marketing rule. And the rule of 3, 5, and 7 is give me one line, bullet point, 3 reasons why. Another line, 2 reasons, and another line and 2 reasons. Make it clean. I don't want to read a lot. The first is the most effective. They're gonna read reasons you should buy a home, property, and then 3. Okay. So if you're going to write to them, you try to write that rule of 3, 5, and 7. You don't have to write all 7 bullet points. That's not what I'm saying. The first 3 are the most effective. Why should we be a homeowner? Why should we stop renting? And by the way, you don't even have to use that word. Why you should be a homeowner and list the 3 reasons. You don't have to call them a renter. Okay. And you can use an example and say, if you're interested, I'd love to show you an example in your area of what property ownership is how much equity you could accrue through time, how property value has increased in the area. Contact me. That could be your 1 line and 2 bullet points after. And then the service that you could provide them. Okay. I had a case, it wasn't here. I was doing a social media class at the association. You would also do this if you sold or rented a property in that area. You would write to people. So once you have a transaction, the earnings that you make from that transaction, you should take 20% and mark it. And she said, listen, I had stopped doing that. I had thought of stopped sending a mailer saying just rented or just sold. She goes, and I just got my next listing because I sent that. She was like, I thought it didn't work. And it right when I was gonna say, that's it, I'm not doing it anymore, it worked. Okay. So the same thing that I just showed you to do, you could also do when just sold and just rented in the area. Same process. Okay. Let's see what else I can show you. Are you guys getting a whole bunch of text messages that are weird? And they say, sign here, let me give you your money.
Like I'm getting calls. That you have until the end of the day to get $30,000 to help you.
I thought it was me. I'm glad that you said that because I was looking and I go,
Everybody, yeah, text, but I get most of the calls.
okay, so we did a quick search. We did overlay, and now I'm gonna bring you to IMAP here. I was trying to make sure that we follow Arusa's request. Right? She's so cute. Alrighty, so just to remember, we came in and we did a search. Just a reminder, you put in the county, you put an address. We've done everything under tax search, right? And we've gone in and used subdivision name, and we use that to get current owner and none. The next thing I want you to see is that you have a map browsing capability here, right? And it brings you to the map where we were. And what this allows you to do is work with layers. So I'm actually gonna put it, so I went to the map, right? And I'm gonna put it to street because I wanna read the info it's giving me. One of the things that this is currently doing is that you can come and layer and you could see the estimated value by parcel. Let's see if it'll populate. I'm not sure why it's taking so long. There we go. You see, it was just being fidgety. This is fantastic for anybody who's new or has been in the industry to come and view, and you can see what the property value is estimated at. No, a mí tampoco me cargó. I had to do it again. I turned it off, and then I had to do it again. Okay. You see. Okay. Another one that is a hot topic right now, you can look into is code violations. See if anybody has code violations. So I want to zoom out a little bit and do the code violations. And again, it's not doing it the first time because it's just giving me the map for sold or whatever. Maybe they're having an issue because you see how I see the sold maps? So I see estimated value and the code violations are not coming up. Well, no. Here's one with code violation. It's in red. Okay.
Look at this.
Yeah.
Oh, eating bread.
That's Hollywood.
Oh, no.
Some cities are taking a turn and you have to be aware of what's happening at city level. But some places are asking for you to just declare. They do a write-up. You pay a nominal fee and you move forward. The problem with that is that if it has to do with trash or I don't know if you guys know, most places don't control, like if your grass is tall and you don't live in a community, no one's gonna come and No. So that's a city thing, and it's a way to generate funds and keep the city looking a certain way. But we don't all live in city areas. Some of us will live in unincorporated areas, right? It is amazing also that there are some neighbors that will report you because you put a nail on the door. And you can put a nail on your door, so so it depends on where you live.
But you see, when that code violation thing comes up, it doesn't tell you.
No, you have to click into it and then go to the county and see what the county is reflecting. So you have to click on the property and the actual parcel and then go to the property appraiser's office to see if you would see it. Oh, no. Okay, so let's come here and search. Hold on. Here, I'm gonna do Broward. Have it all. And then we're gonna go to map browser. And you see how now I brought you the map? And now I am in layer. And I did it estimated. Ideal, mano. Bem, so yo estoy ahora en layer aquí. All right. So one of the things that I also like to show with this is I'm gonna move from here a little bit on the map and move out. And I'm gonna take out the code violation and estimated value. And I'm gonna do code violation again. And you see that there's a couple of parcels that turn red. You would click, right? Select that property. Okay, and you may not see the code violations here, but you can come to the property appraiser and see if it shows anything. Nothing's coming up? Okay, I'll report it. But I know that it's working. You at least know that they have an issue. All righty, let me click back to the map and the layer. Oh, I don't like to see it like this when we're looking. Street. And we're gonna do here map layers, layer. And the next thing is that you can come in an area and see equity. And it's color coded here. So you can see an area with high equity. Okay, let's shift a little. And I'm gonna sink into here. You can see the properties that have higher equity. The darker the shade, right? The darker the green, the more equity. So you can look in here. This helps you to visualize and see who am I gonna talk to about this or whatever. All righty. You can also come here and select. So I'm gonna do a rectangle and let me select the rectangle. And I'm gonna talk about this area, right? Confirm selection. And now I have just that area that I picked. Just that area that I picked. So instead of having just this or just that, if I wanted to do a select area, let me show you again. Map browse. Okay. I'm gonna remove that layer because it's a little bit much, no? And I'll stop the MLS listings. I arrived to an area that interests me here. I want to see information on this area. I can come in and select, and I can do a polygon, a circle, a rectangle, a lasso, an area, right? And I'm going to select a rectangle just to show you. And I'm going to come and draw and say, I want to do this. I confirm my selection, right? And I have information on that area. So now from here, I want you to understand, look, modify, I have 260 some properties, right? In the area that I drew. But I can come here and modify criteria and saying, owner occupied, yes, and start my search. 171 of the 260 some are owner occupied. Okay, I don't want that. Modify criteria. No, because I want to see how many renters there are. But instead of being in a subdivision, I can draw on the map now. I couldn't do that before. You missed that little bit. You want me to show again? Because she just
I'm
went
sorry.
blank faced. No, and everybody could use it. No. Map browse, map browse. Now, I'm of the idea. You see how you could pick whatever, and I eliminated from the layer so I would stop seeing so much. All I have is parcel boundaries selected. And I have it on street because aerial is a bit much, right? Like that makes you uneasy. So, but I know Griffin and I know here, so I want to work this area here, these lots here. And before, if that wasn't a subdivision or a community, I could not come and draw an IMAP. Now I can select and I can choose area, top, a rectangle. I'm going to do a rectangle, right? And I can come in on the map and say, I want to do this area here. I confirm that that's my area. And I have 251 properties that I'm focusing on. I'm doing research on. And now I can modify the criteria. And look at this. I can look here for let me see. I wanted to show you something else. The owner occupied, I've already shown you. But you could put owner is a Florida resident. Yes. And start my search. And to these people then, the 245, as Floridians, your letter just completely changed. Yes or no? So, and from here, I could modify, right? Owner's a Florida resident. I could come and say owner occupied. No. Start my search. And I have 85 people that the owner is in Florida, but 85 rent. So when I'm talking to the owner, I can say the as Floridian. And then as the renter, I'm saying, you live here. We live in paradise. If it's 60 degrees here, how cold is it in other places? And they're up to wazoo in snow. I saw a meme yesterday where the people were raking. Have you ever raked snow? Okay. Well, I had an adventure once. I worked at a company based out of Dayton, Ohio. And I was in Columbus, and the joke was that I had never done it. And of course, we're in our central meetings. We need to be there for a week. Huge snowstorm, day 2. So when we come out, they give me a shovel, right? And they go, Vamos, Connie, snow. Thank God we were staying, like I could walk from where I was to where we were meeting. It wasn't the loveliest, but I could do it. Because those people have to get up 2 hours before to start the car, shovel the snow, clean up their windshields. And here we get into the car and we complain when we go, the car didn't start. So the meme yesterday that I read was someone was shoveling the snow saying, I don't have hurricanes. I don't have earthquakes. I don't have hurricanes. I don't have earthquakes. I don't have bad skin. Because according to everybody here, we are always in the sun. I don't, so that was their consolation. Well, for shoveling the snow.
Like, this is my husband's brother woke up yesterday. And then he sends us this picture and he's
No,
like, come to
but I see that. And the first thing I thought yesterday, everybody was going back to school. I was like, you imagine the first day back to school, they go, snow day.
Snow
As
day.
all I could think of as a kid was,
Oh, absolutely. Oh my God.
I can
You
play.
gotta make it up at the end, figure it out later and later.
Oh, honey, when you're a kid, that doesn't
I
matter.
know, I know, but as a
I don't even
parent,
think of
yeah,
that.
you don't think about
No, and
it,
it's like
as
one
a
more
parent.
day. But today I get to play or do nothing. So, so you see, it all depends on how you see it.
Yeah.
But you have so much information here now and a way to now isolate an area. So the reason I was showing you this was, whenever you do have a success and you do have a sale or a purchase, you need to come back in here and you search. I'm gonna show you the whole process. So give me an address that you guys like.
All
Hold on, let me put, is it Broward? 404,
62nd Terrace.
I'm just gonna put 62, okay? So, oh, why did it do it this way? Hold on.
South.
New search,
404 South.
new search,
Second Terrace.
404,
South.
62 Terrace, right? I'm just gonna put 62. And it's telling me there's two properties, Hollywood, South 62nd Terrace, it's this one, correct? It's for sale? So let me
Well,
click
just
on it.
close it.
People que no quiere this one. I wanna view. Okay. So here I have this property and I wanna work. I just sold it. I just whatever in this area. I do a map browse and it takes me to the area. And I want to announce my rental or my sale. Well, before you would have to do the whole subdivision. I don't want to do the whole subdivision. I just want to do these 2 blocks, right? Or an area here. Now I can come and select rectangle and just do the area that I want to. So now I come into here, I confirm, and now I say, yes, I want to download all of this info or create mail labels just for this area. Why? I don't have to send 200 notices that I just rented or sold. I just want the block or 2 next to it. And this allows you to do the whole thing that we did, isolate, right? Okay, look, and now I want owners and address because let's say I sold, right? And create labels. Now I have my little labels for my follow-up, for my sale. So it is less expensive to go this route now, and IMAP lets you draw. The first part, always remember that everything is triggered in IMAP by an address. So I needed to have the property address so that that would take me then to the map, and then the map let me draw. I searched the property first, okay? And I really don't have a lot more according to what Arusa wanted me to show you. I do want to add something here. Let me come back in and let's do something else on the map. Let's go back to map browse and let it just sit here. I want you to see here as well that in the layers, okay, it does allow you to see if there's potential foreclosure, if there was foreclosure. That's not the best way to look for that one, but you can identify tax delinquency. Now we're gonna come into here and you're gonna see that there's some tax delinquency. You see them? You see the dollar signs? Let me go to an area. Now, if there are delinquent, I always say, this is really cool, but I need to click on it, right? So now I clicked on it and supposedly I didn't mean to, well, that's the individual property. We're not gonna have an issue.
All those still a red tax money.
Okay, property tax has been delinquent since 2023. What happens is that in November, the new tax for this year came out. So now these people, if I go to the county, you always check the county tax collector because they could have paid this morning and that's not updated in IMAP. So you come into here, you click. Mhm. 10,000 and then 9,000 now. That 10,000 is because there's late fees. Now, the tax bill for 2024 is not due until March. So that one's pending, but 2023 is late.
So
Now-
tienen 2 años que no pagan.
El año, yeah,
Sí,
el 23 y el 20 y el 24.
24.
Now, you need to know what your tax people do in your area. Some people will go and buy this tax amount. And is it after how many years and you get a tax certificate? Okay,
That's what shocked me when I was in that people can actually go and buy the tax and then they have
Yeah, but
access
if
to
they
it.
don't have a default, I think of 3 years,
Mhm.
then it's, yeah, they cannot do anything with the
But
property.
then
That's
the
right.
person who pays the taxes.
I could put a lien on your property.
Yeah.
Puts a lien on
That's
the
the part.
property and they get the interest, right?
Yeah, that's homework that you guys need to do
Yes.
Yeah, I think
because
it's
people
the
do that.
interest. And after
You have to
3
be in the
years,
following
you can apply
years,
for
exactly.
the foreclosure or something like that.
But that person that bought the tax now. and she only did it
Okay,
for
there's-
3 years, so
that's-
they come and get
That's
that.
one layer of it. That's one layer of it.
That's the purpose of buying the tax certificate.
That's one layer of it. So let's come back over here and let's look at this property. This property is currently valued at 709,000. Okay, this person purchased in 2021. They put a quick claim deed. They purchased in 78 for 48. There was a dissolution and then there's been you need to contact these people and say,
You're gonna lose your house.
now, if you look here, the property owners, current owners are these two. I don't know if we have contact information for them or not, because the phone number is not here, but you have the address, and this may not be in a community, so you can go and say, listen, I understand that you're currently under duress. I would like to assist you. You purchased the property, if they really purchased it at 48,000. And you're gonna make this much, let's get you out of here. Let's get you probably into a newer property, right? And let's get you without this burden. If they aren't paying their taxes, there's something else going on.
Yeah.
There's something else going on because they had always paid. Something else is going on. I always think back, and I share this with you. My husband has thyroid cancer. He's fine. We're taking care of it, but we've had it and it happened right before pandemic, right? I'm not, thank you for the but when you have medical bills here and you're thinking of paying water, light, and you need to pay medicine.
That's
Remember what I was telling you about being a salmon in South Florida? Yeah, you patch and you play the game and you do what you best can. Your homestead is protected, but you have to pay the bills. So you would want to tell them, listen, let's get your return on investment here. You've got a substantial equity. I mean, 700,000 is not something. Let's get you out of this and where you need to go. The reason I tell you the story of mine is that if there is a health issue or someone has lost a job, you are not there to judge.
Yeah.
You're there to help and assist. And the truth is that in this case, you can. You can send 1,000 letters. Everybody's sending them letters because if they owe this, they owe so much more. So if you can knock on that door and tell them, listen, I can help you plan. You could buy another property, live somewhere, and you can even buy 2 properties with this and come out of the hole and maybe earn one that's income earning. Okay? So there is that layer of the tax property and the tax lien and all of that. But there's another layer that this is a potential listing and someone that needs help. That's how you can see this. Okay? Interesting? I think I bombarded you. We have a great recording.
There's the phone number,
So wait, how did
You would
get
know, I
it?
didn't see the phone number. The phone number would be up here.
so this will be a door knocking.
Yeah.
That should be a door knocking situation. You put
Because if
this out just to
you can
show
send
that
1,000 letters and everybody else is telling them that it's bad stuff. The letter will not get through.
That's the solution of you showing up. and say, I have-
Just printing this out and showing them more or less an estimate of what the equity that they're sitting on.
Yeah.
I can help you. Let me know if you're interested. Let's get you out of this pickle.
No, and not only out of this pickle, we could search for another property that maybe fits you now. Because they have here, it doesn't say, a ver, here it is. 5 bedrooms and 3 baths. Yeah, I know it's just 2,300 square feet, but they need out. And you don't need 2,300 square feet you just don't. Whenever I see anything over 2,000 square feet,
Yeah.
I always say, who's cleaning that?
Oh my God, I say the same thing.
Every time that they tell me,
Every
my
time.
husband has these delusions that we're gonna move into a ranch. I would love to. I would love to. But I tell him, honey, that's not just cleaning the house.
No, it's
That
about.
is taking care of.
No, in a ranch.
And I go, okay, so I tell him and I go, are you ready to be up at 5 in the morning? Because it's hot here. So at
Yeah.
5 is when you need to do that stuff. You need to mow the lawn with a tractor, 5 in the morning and do it. And I go, I don't have an issue with. And then he goes, no, because we could build like 3,500. And I go, I know.
Yeah.
What? Who's coming that I need 3,500 square feet? I already have less than 2,000 and I get 25 people, sometimes 40 at the house. And it's like, no one else is cleaning but Connie yet.
Yeah.
So can we just do 2022, like something? Why? And he's like, why? And I'm like, I don't want to be a resort. So I don't want an apartment because I don't want to pay HOA or COA or whatever it is. But here, this is a prime example of you searching for that tax and then saying this person needs assistance. Sure, you could buy, but I don't know who's sitting on 10K to pay. But this is someone who needs an out.
Mhm.
And all you have to do is plant the seed. Listen, I have a solution. If you're interested in selling, here's what your home is valued. It's a magnificent property, well located. Let's get you. And the truth is that you could offer for them to buy an apartment and maybe a multi-income, not in great, but they could generate income off this other property.
They could buy something cash.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Because they're sitting on that now.
Yeah.
No, because they're sitting on that now and they're not paying the taxes.
Listen, I had a lady in class yesterday that she has a duplex in Miami Gardens. And that duplex generated for her $85,000 last year. She said, I invested. I invested in making it very nice. Put it in Airbnb. But she goes, they each have two, which is already luxury, 2 bedroom, 2 baths, right? And she says, a little living area, a nice kitchen, because there were, she goes, so what we did was floor, gut, everything white, and very simple. And she goes, we got leather seats and we conditioned them. Just an idea for you guys out there. I was telling my husband, leather seats, they condition them, and then when somebody comes and they leave, they can even clean the sofa because it's leather. And what they do is they condition them. Every time someone leaves, they clean and condition. So the leather stands, and leather you can just wipe.
Yeah.
And she goes, I understand that in a couple of years I'm gonna have to change it. But for now, it's she goes, it's doing what it's supposed to do. And when I change it, I'm gonna buy the same thing because on any other type of sofa, I can't wipe. And 85,000.
She's Airbnb it?
Yeah.
Wow.
So she's paying. That's what she made.
Yeah.
So from there, she has to pay the
Yeah,
mortgage or
of
whatever.
course, yeah.
And she goes, but
She netted that.
I don't know if she netted it. I didn't ask her. But even if she didn't, if she only made 50,
Mhm.
So.
that's yeah.
Eventually, the units will be paid off and it'll be.
Yeah.
And in an area,
Mhm.
they're not gonna let the Miami Dolphins go out down the drain.
Yeah.
The tennis open is not gonna leave there. Formula One is there. I mean, they've constructed. There is construction that happened. I mean, no one would have invested that vastly if they weren't gonna stay. So when they said that they were gonna try to do the soccer stadium around that area, I was like, we really need that. We would need an area that's just for sports. And then let me drive to point A and you bus me or metro me or whatever me in there.
Yeah.
And that would be the sports complex, which would be ideal, but no one thinks that way here. And please remember how much they hesitated when the Formula One that was protest. Protest. And it's like, be quiet. You know how much money you're generating? If you have a little yard like this in that area, you can make money.
Sure, $10 instead of what, $30 up
Yeah.
there.
I'll just water my grass tomorrow. Everything turns green here anyway. She only comes for the, I hadn't made you laugh today. She only comes for the comic relief. I hadn't done that today. I had been very serious because I'm being recorded. Okay, this part of the recording is not disclosed. Everybody signed an NDA. All righty, Mr. Russo, you weren't here, but we have fun. We did good. Thank you, guys. I hope you found it worth it. Okay, let me stop this.